so many assumptions in what you are doing. The first assumption is that you think all the human beings are exactly the same. And I maintain that no two individuals are the same. That is number one. And so the very idea of arriving at the greatest common factor may be self-defeating in its own approach. That is number one. All right, the instruments which you have gather certain data. And what you are doing with the data is the interpretation based upon the knowledge you have. I'm just asking questions so that I can understand what you are talking about. I'm not throwing counter questions at you, but really I'm not able to follow you. So the whole thing may be a self-defeating approach to the problem. I'm not suggesting that you should give up.
No, may I answer those two points?
Yes, I know that. So
because we feel that the present normality, which we call normal, belongs to that category that you had said. That means statistical normality.
Because you have not taken the totality of the humans on this planet into consideration, certain experiences and behavior patterns, you put them, you see, as above normal. You may not call them abnormal or any such thing. So there may not be anything other than the normal. May not be.
No, our present normality.
Because they don't fit into, you see,
No, that is the present normality, which I am criticizing.
You see, that is
then I am with you. This is what I am saying.
That is a statistical definition you have.
Now, what we want to do is, today our science is suffering from studying similarities and not dissimilarities.
But don't you have any other way of solving your problem other than going to these yogis and those who do these pranayama exercises and those who meditate and those who claim that you see that they are living in some other states and that they are functioning in some other kind of a reality?
No.
So the problems are created by the inadequacy of your own scientific approach. So you have got to find out the solutions for your own problems within that framework. Maybe you are committing the biggest mistake in going to those people and asking for solutions for your problems.
No,
you have to come up. You see, your approach has always been an independent one.
We have to.
These claimants we have, you see, in our midst today, and all those ugly saints we have in the marketplace who are selling all and every kind of gimmick, may be fooling themselves. You see, a real one, a real McCoy, if there is one, he will never submit himself to all your tests.
This is one of the difficulties.
So that is going to be a great big problem for you.
Now,
you can't get a man like, you see, Sai Baba, or a man like J. Krishnamurti, or a man like Bhuttananda, or you see, Mahesh Yogi, those people. But all the other claimants, you see, you can get them cheaper by the dozen, as the expression has it. But they may be fooling themselves and fooling you.
But how do we go about finding the direction of that change within?
I don't know. I don't have any answer for that question.
This is what we are trying.
Except, you see, not to give any credence to any claims that these people make, howsoever interesting they may seem to you, however long-standing these interesting people have been.
We are trying to build a thing where that credence can be tested.
That is the point.
This is the point. That credence can be tested and disqualified.
I am afraid you are making the greatest and biggest mistake, even toying with the idea of paying any consideration to the claims that these people have been making.
No, but
I'm not suggesting it is unscientific, of course. You have to take into picture everything.
No, we don't want to bring yogis at all. In fact, our idea is the ordinary normalcy to come to shift from statistical normality which we are toying with.
That is the only thing we have, only statistical normality. Anything
shift
that doesn't fall...
Uniqueness. No, you are saying everybody is unique.
Every individual is unique.
That is not studied by science till now. We want to do that.
Then you see, our sciences are inadequate to handle it.
That is the reason.
Each individual has to be studied in
this is
an individual way.
Right.
This is what we are doing.
I'm not saying anything against
I'm
it.
very happy
I'm just
that
asking a fundamental question,
The greatest flaw today is the statistical control of our thinking.
You started your whole business on your own, without any help from any of these people. And why do you have to go to them when you are against, the wall? You see, you don't know, you don't find a way out of this situation. The answers for your problems have to come from you and not from these yogis, not from those who preach these meditation systems, transcendental, or
No,
otherwise.
but for our study, why not throw the spectrum away?
It's all right.
That's the point.
Yeah, I'm not.
Not that we are credible.
Maybe you are going in a wrong way. Maybe you are making the greatest and biggest mistake. The West also is falling for this kind. That's what I tell them in these psychologists and psychiatrists.
No, in the West, the uniqueness is not there. What
Not
what
they, they take for granted that every human being is exactly the same.
Actually, what we are trying to do is, we are not fixing standards by a statistical average and trying to fix it. We are trying to fix standards of the unfolding of one's own capability from previous level to next level. This is what we are trying to do. Otherwise, how can you? I mean, it's exactly what we are saying.
It's a question, in other words, if I understand the discussion, there are two things. One is, each person has to understand, realize. That is one. Then it centers around him, his own introspection, experimentation, observation, whatever. But today we live in a business world where we have to derive the common denominators for all.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything against that.
That is why what we are doing is not probably going to lead us to discover the uniqueness of man, the spiritual emancipations, or whatever those very big things.
If there is any such
There is no science which can do that.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly. There, and Professor Verma also says the same. What we are doing is very ordinary. I use the word
And it is
ordinary.
very essential, but what I am suggesting is maybe you are falling into a trap or putting yourself into a quagmire and sinking.
No, we are trying to break the trap. This is what we are doing. But unless you know the trap, how are you going to break it?
Now, unless you start somewhere, in fact,
But you are going to end up with the same statistical information of a different kind. Basically, the situation doesn't in any way change. I'm not just pointing out.
it is quite right. In fact, the current opinion among all sciences, not only biological sciences, physical sciences, and philosophers is, we are not today in a position to understand somebody else's salvation. I mean, to investigate somebody else, there is no science to look at it.
You are involved.
No, that is the largest issue.
No, that's the most important factor. The one who is studying, he is the one that is involved with this. That is exactly what I'm pointing out. You see, you collect a tremendous amount of data through the help of these instruments, but you are interpreting them. The interpreter is the one who is very important. That's all that I'm saying.
And how we are interpreting it?
Because you are also part of the whole. You cannot separate yourself from that. That's all I'm pointing.
Right. Of course, that is impossible. A man has to study man.
He has to understand himself first.
See, this is another largest issue.
How is that going to help me to understand myself? All this tremendous data which you are collecting through the help of all these tremendous instruments is going to help me to understand myself. So what I am emphasizing is that there is no way of understanding yourself. The computer never asks the question, how am I functioning?
Then how do we proceed? This is what I want to ask.
You see, it is like you see a scientist who is trying to achieve a breakthrough. I always give the example of the Newtonian physics. The Newton's laws still operate and or void within the framework of the Newtonian physics, you see. But there comes a time when you are trying to achieve a breakthrough, you find that, oh, this is a sort of a stranglehold. And you find you have no way of breaking that or freeing yourself from the stranglehold. If through some luck or some strange chance, you are freed from that stranglehold, you see, of the knowledge so far accumulated, and it's only a miracle that can help you see, to free yourself from that, because anything you do on any level, in any direction is only adding to that. You will achieve a sort of a quantum, you see, accomplish a quantum jump. But since you are interested, you see, in technology, making use of the result of this quantum jump, you see, for purposes of giving continuity to your research, you have to make that part of it. I always give the example of Picasso. Picasso had the same problem. You see, he wanted to break away from the techniques. And then he did succeed in achieving that breakthrough. And then after that, he became a model for everybody. Every cheap artist is now imitating the same thing. So one day, you see, we have to break, you see, the Einsteinian physics as well. That is really the problem.
Every time a breakthrough becomes a model and then closes it.
Yes, I submit that nature is trying to create something unique every time, and that's the only creative thing. I may be wrong, I don't know, you're all scientists. Nature doesn't seem to use anything as a model. You know, when once it perfects and creates something unique, and that unique individual is thrown off, you see, the evolutionary movement. So that individual has no use for nature at all. That's all that I'm maintaining.
Quite interesting, right?
So that is why I say whatever I'm saying, whatever is my state of being, whatever the way I'm functioning, has no social content at all. Nature has no use for me.
Can I ask one
question?
question?
Yes.
First, a unique thing comes up. Then it becomes a closed model. I mean, this is repeatedly occurring.
Yes.
If a person, I mean, so also the person's development, he finds that he flowered out, then he became closed, and this produced intense constriction, restriction in him. And he comes for help. How are we going to
I'm not with
apply?
you. I'm not with you. Please say that again.
I personally feel that the unique flowering state has certain properties of its own.
Yes.
A type of thing.
Yes.
And when it becomes a closed model, which is determined by the model, it has got certain constrictive expressions.
Yeah, I think that is where the whole culture has gone wrong.
That's right.
By using the model of a Jesus or a Buddha or a Muhammad or a Mahavira,
That's right.
we have destroyed the possibility of nature throwing up,
Fine.
you see, unique individuals, not one but hundreds, maybe thousands.
Now I want to bring the social context. A person caught in the web of this modelitis or say whatever
Yes,
we call
all
it.
right.
When they come to us, how can we means we are also maybe caught
You are
up.
also part of
But
that.
probably one is less caught up and one there are various grades.
It is just a blind man leading a blind man.
Quite right. But how do we relate ourselves? I'm not even saying treat.
First of all, you see, the greatest error in dealing with the so-called unique men, if there are any, is to relate, you see, what they are saying to the way you are functioning.
That's right.
Huh?
Now, for that, can we have aids to help in relating for uniqueness? This is all I want.
Uniqueness is not something which can be turned out of a
No, which can come out of that person.
Of a factory.
It's like catalysis, isn't it?
No, that's the reason why I have always felt, and I feel very strongly, that, you see, this individual has no use for the society at all.
But suppose,
Not only that,
suppose we have to relate.
you have no reference point. What is the reference point you have?
No, by using reference point, it becomes a model.
No, it is the society or culture or whatever you want to call it that has created all these individuals. So for the main purpose of maintaining the continuity of that culture, the status quo of that culture. So this is an impossible task, you see, we are stuck with here. The individual has to use what the society has given him. So he is only strengthening every action of his, every experience of his. He is strengthening and fortifying that and maintaining the continuity of it. I always give the simile of a man riding a tiger. You see, he wants to get off the tiger, but he cannot, because of the fear that the tiger might gobble him up. If through some strange chance or some luck is thrown off, the tiger maintains its own momentum, he is thrown off. See? And so that individual has nothing to do with that tiger anymore.
Shall I put it the other way? You said this unique individual has no social purpose.
He does not for a moment say to himself that he is a unique individual.
No.
He does not for a moment say.
But let us not designate either him or others who are calling it.
All right.
But there is a unique state.
Yes.
Right?
That unique state.
That unique state, by presence in a society which are determined by various things.
No. The tree is there.
I know.
You see,
but don't you think
what
the
kind of
presence of a unique state in the middle of a society induces unique states not as a model, but merely by the presence of it, it will trigger off a change within the individual which will make it model. This is all I want to ask.
No,
I still maintain that there is a place.
I say no. You see, even the nature has discarded this because this individual cannot reproduce one like this, either physically or spiritually. That may be an unscientific statement to make, because I don't want to make any unscientific statements because you see, the spermatozoa that is there has not been tested and found useless for impregnating an ovum. So I cannot, but nor am I going to, or nor am I interested, you see, in helping, you see, the scientific research to prove that it has no way of impregnating the ovum, but I know that, you see. So physically, this individual cannot reproduce one like this, so nature has no use for him. Nature's purpose is to reproduce, and that's the only way it can maintain its continuity.
And flower out uniqueness.
From time to time, throw out, you see, individuals, and not use them as models.
That's right.
That's all that I'm saying. But so the tree is there. What will you do with the tree? It's not its concern. It happens to be there.
Don't you think
I cannot.
Periodic flowing up of uniqueness
That
is
nature
itself a flowering, unfolding process.
You see, that is bound to happen in individuals who, through some chance, accident, free themselves from the burden of the entire cost of man. Not only the past of your own and the past of everything that existed before. So I maintain that, you see, you are somehow find yourself back in the primordial, primeval state of consciousness. I want to put that in quote and unquote, you see, without primitiveness. So that individual has no use for society, is just there. You see, on a hot sunny day, you want to sit under the tree for a while because it is shade. Number one. Number two, you see, you can cut the tree into pieces and use it as a fuel and cook your own food. It is not interested in that. And see, if you are a painter, you can paint it. You see, a poet write a beautiful piece of poem on, you see, go to a tree or go to a daffodil or go to a rose and so on and so forth. There is also a danger if you sit under the tree. See, the coconut might fall on your head and split your head into two pieces. That danger is also there. So this individual becomes a threat to the society. So if he is a real threat to the society or culture or whatever you want to call it, that is going to liquidate this. As long as it is not a threat, it is already. So what kind of a use that man has to that society as it is structured today, as it is functioning today? So that is why I say the fact that we have used all these unique individuals who use different kinds of language in different times as models, not knowing very well what is their thing. So I don't believe in you see the Loka Sangraha and helping mankind for what is that, compassionate reasons and all that kind of a thing. I don't believe in that kind of a thing.
So you don't think there is a non-model influence of a flowering genius?
I don't see anything. You see, I can tell you something. You see, since you are interested in yoga and pranayama, I don't do anything, meditation and all. I myself did yoga for 7 years in Shivananda's house. Later on, you see, whatever happened to me, I don't know, you see. So I felt that this body could not take the outbursts of energy. So I spoke to a friend of mine who happened to be a yoga teacher. He said, I don't know what you are talking about, but somehow I have a feeling that whatever happened to you has happened in an extraordinary way. And maybe my father, Krishnamacharya, you see, in Ras, you see, he will be able to help you. So I went there and took some yoga lessons and did it for 3 years. Later on I discovered that, see, the whole yogic business, you see, is whatever you are doing, you see, is counter to the way this natural body is functioning. The same problems, the same difficulties I had with pranayama. So I tried to discuss these things with them. They said, you see, what you say may be true, but this doesn't fit into our, you see, Patanjali Yoga Sutras and all that kind of a thing. So I said, I'm not going to do it. So meditation and so on and so forth. See, when once you see this living organism is freed from the stranglehold of this thought, or whatever you want to call it, anything that you do using that instrument to achieve, be it, you see, control of the body or states of bliss, beatitude, immensity, God knows what, is violence there. So it is something like using, you see, a force to create a peace, what we call peace, you see. It's like between two wars. It's just like using war as a means to create a peaceful world. So it is not interested in any one of those things, the bliss, beatitude and all that ecstasies that those people are talking about. Because it has come to the end of that experiencing and discovered that there is no such thing as a new experience at all. You know? So this repetitive process is the one that is wearing itself out. You see, that is why I was emphasizing this morning or yesterday. One of the justices of the High Court came to see me yesterday. So, you see, I said that it is not a question of reaching your goal. Your search itself has to come to an end, not because you have achieved, you see, what you have been trying to achieve or what you are after, but the search comes to an end with a great big bang, as it were. See, so a hungry man is satisfied with the crumbs thrown at him. So when he has the crumbs thrown at him, that satisfies his hunger a little bit, and then he wants a full loaf of bread, and that is promised by those ugly saints who have in the market. Not only that, you see, you know, the whole wheat bread, 5 cereals, 10 cereals, and so on and so forth. But it is not a question of satisfying your hunger, but let that hunger burn itself out. See, that is what actually happens. Not because of what you do, but in spite of what you have done. You know. So all that these people are doing has no relevance to the state in which you find yourself. All that is meaningless. Is trying to quench your thirst with these thirst quenchers, which all these people are providing, has no meaning at all. The basic question is that somewhere along the line, man felt for the first time this self-consciousness. You know? So all the religious teachings, all the discoveries of the modern science come out of that divided state of consciousness in man. And so they are destructive in their very nature. That is the reason why we are progressively moving in the direction of total annihilation of everything that exists on this planet. There seems to be no way of reversing that.
But what is
This is not my doom song or anything.
No, what is the next phase of the development of subconsciousness and all this other process?
There is no other way. He will go and he will take everything along with him. Except that, you see, we will learn, you see, how to live, not because of that love, kindness, brotherhood. You see that these sages, saints and saviors of mankind have been teaching us, but because of terror. Terror. Just the way, you see, these cells function in our body. See, this cell is interested in survival. And the only way it can survive is to cooperate with the cell that is next there. Not as an ideal, not as a spiritual model, but pure and simple survival. And its survival depends upon cooperation with the next cell. So I don't see that there is even any federal structure in the body. I may be wrong. You see, I don't know because I can't make any. They are all loose. You see, each one is an autonomous unit. And their survival depends upon cooperation with the next.
So that is a transactional dependence.
Transactional dependence.
Yeah.
And also, there is, you see, this in this structure, the feeling, which is not an emotion, that this is immortal.
So that's a pseudo feeling.
It is sure of certainty. If it survives at this moment, the next moment is assured. So it moves from moment to moment. The physical functioning of the body is not interested in living for 100 years or 150 years. You will all achieve that, you see, in the sense that you will keep the man going for 150 years, 300 years, I don't know. It will be possible and it is within the easy reach of the medical technology today. I tell them, so what do you want to live for 300 years of misery? You know that the problem is solving this, not living for 300 years with the same misery.
This is what I wanted to ask you. In this transactional framework, isn't the body on a whole, isn't there a transcendental thing trying to come out?
No, I don't think so. It is highly individualistic. You see, not the individuals that the culture or you want to be, but highly individualistic in a different sense. And at the same time, you see, its maintenance of that individuality depends upon the essential cooperation with what is next to it. And there's another thing which I'm emphasizing these days is that the awareness business, you see, that is going around the world as a means to use that awareness, choiceless or otherwise, to bring about a change. So this is not interested in change of any kind. This is a perfect model that the nature has created. But culture has destroyed, you see, the possibility of everything developing into, see, an individual uniqueness. That is the reason why many of those cells that we have there are, you see, inactive, very inactive. So the control, you see, of that human body through the help of this thinking has destroyed the possibility of these humans growing into complete whole humans.
Now, how to force the potential? Which is not under the transactional clutch.
The potential is there already. The nature is trying to create individuals, unique individuals. But somewhere along the line, you see, something placed us on a wrong track, and there seems to be no way of...
So could we evolve a conscious mode of approach, not bound by the transactional...
You are using the word conscious, you see. Conscious...
No, in the sense that free consciousness, not under the...
No,
it is possible, I don't know.
You see, this awareness is the activity of the brain, sir.
That's right. But that is again...
Not an instrument to be used to bring about any change. No. Any change.
No. That is again part of this.
Part of this, just the way, you see, pancreatic juice is part of it, is created by the pancreas,
but
and the liver, you see, bile, you see. So that is, the animals also have this awareness, you know. So
as you said, going back into the non-primitive, primal, non-formed aspect.
there isn't a thing that you can do.
No.
Sorry. No, you see, that is why I say,
Is there something that is lying
it's
suffocated
natural.
because of our stupidity?
It's natural, you see, to ask that question, but that very question makes it impossible. So that's why I tell the people, I don't know if there is any such thing as enlightened man. If you say this to yourself, why not me? You ain't got a chance. Why not me?
It will
You
be
ain't got a
distorted. That's true. Making will make it distorted again.
Yes.
You are only adding to the great burden of conflicts that you have produced.
So what is one to do in such a situation? I really don't have any answer. I don't even ask the questions. You see,
Facilitate the emergence of this unit in any way. Am I right?
I think the answers have to come from microbiologists and those who are doing research in genetics and not from this body. I'm sorry to say. And that, of course, will be placed in the hands of the state, and the state will destroy what little freedom we have today, and that's the end.
So it is neither the state nor the holy man who can resolve it.
Yes. Maybe if you leave it to the computer has a better chance. You know, the day the man frees himself from the pride, that it is he who has created the computer, and feel proud, you see, but today you are feeding the computer with your own data, but now you see they have these latest models, they are thinking, they are self-correcting, and I tell these people, I watched on the television somebody talking about it. Now that they are feeding the computers with the protein formula and all the bacteria that is there in your body, maybe, you see, they will guide us. You see, if you let this body to function like an automaton, like a computer, with an extraordinary intelligence, it has not the acquired intelligence.
We don't program it.
We don't program. It is already programmed, pressed and buttons for us. We are all the time interfering. So this has been, the servant has taken possession now. The master is now under the thumb of that fellow. And if through some machinations we push that into the corner and if the servant has to leave, you know he will adopt, you see, a scorched earth policy. He will burn the whole thing and then go. And knowing very well that he will also be burnt along with the master and the house. So that is the situation. The answers are not going to come from these holy men. We can, you see, invent, the computers are going to invent more gods, you know, than the human mind has so far done.
Provided the programmers of the computer should be the natural products, not the human beings programmed. Then again
it is already programmed, pressed and buttoned. So what do you have to do with it?
Because usually what happens in all these diagnostic facilities is we program. So it is subject to our limitation initially.
Certainly, the answers you get what do they call it? Printout. You already know the printout in advance, what it is going to be. So that's the reason why, you see, I don't get up on a platform and talk to people. So I have no message to give to the world. I'm just here, you see, I have to live in some place. I have some means of going somewhere to avoid the heat here or to California or somewhere. If somebody comes to see me, I talk to him. So point out, you see, the absurdity of what we do, the absurdity of this conversation. So I'm not a savior of mankind. I tell them the world has needs must rather be saved from the saviors of mankind. We have plenty of them in the market. So I am
difficult to observe also in an unbiased way.
I say, how is it possible? You see, what separates from whatever is there is the knowledge we have. So the very demand to know is only to add to the knowledge you already have. See, that is the only way it can maintain its continuity.
Or if it's a total experience and not based on a previous knowledge.
There is no experience except through the aid of knowledge. If it is a vicious thing, knowledge gives you the experience, and the experience strengthens that knowledge.
So the primal
We are now far away from the primal situation. It is so contaminated. So we are trying to throw, you see, it's not, it's in your hands, you know.
No, but can we seek what is not in our hands? What is the way?
Now, there's no power, you see, outside can help you. No outside agency can be of any help. So if we are lucky enough to free ourselves from seeking the aid from the outside agency, then there is no helplessness here. So my favorite refrain of my doom song is that you live in hope and die in hope. This is a madman singing his doom song. And he will go. And all that they are doing is ridiculous. Published notes, review notes. I'm sorry I can't be of any help. I don't know how I can be of any help to you. First of all, that is too big. It's an undertaking. Undertaking is not good, but anyway, in India it is all right. Undertakers, you know, in America, but it is a real undertaker's business. You know. You see, I don't know, I don't like the word consciousness at all. To me, consciousness is another word for life. Energy is another word for life. So, first, the thought should burn itself outside. You know that, without splitting itself into two. And that is something which cannot be made to happen through any volition, sought to the help of anybody. So, he doesn't have to be, you see, an individual who has prepared himself for this kind of a thing. You see, he doesn't like this holy man. When I say that this kind of a thing can happen to a murderer, to a thief, to a con man, to a rapist, you see, he has as much a chance, if not a better chance, than all those products we have in this world. So then immediately you throw a question at me and ask, was Buddha a rapist? I'm not interested in answering that question, but this kind of a thing, this is a random thing. You know, somehow you see something hits, you see, you know, like a lightning hitting and burning the whole thing. So that individual has no use for the society, and the society is not interested in that individual because we function, you see, within the field of the sinners and saints. You see, they are the opposite ends of the same spectrum, but basically they are one and the same. See, so this unique man is outside the spectrum of the sinner and the saint. The society cannot tolerate, see, anything outside this frame.
Arising from that, can we ask a question as to what line we should take? No, this was very enlightening, but still I'm left without an action point.
I have discovered that, you see, the description of the way I am functioning is itself, you see, is creating a sort of a technique. You see, the idea is to just describe, to make you get, you see, feel and realize that, you see, the image you have of this state has absolutely no relationship whatsoever with the way the actual functioning of that living organism, how that body is functioning. You see, you have no idea at all. It's whoever created it, it doesn't matter. You see, that's a perfect piece of creation. Unfortunately, ruined by, you see, this culture, ruined by these religious teachers that this culture has
Now,
done.
suppose to the best of our possibility, we make certain that we do not interfere with anything, volition.
Non-interference is interference. It's not a metaphysical statement that I am making.
Maintain an openness and wait for a recording of a natural phenomenon.
Waiting for something to happen.
Can we do this?
The waiting something to happen prevents the possibility of such a thing occurring.
No, not waiting for something to happen. Because we are, I'm just recording whatever that happens.
You don't have to do a thing, sir. You don't have to purify that. You don't have to do a thing. This is what you discover. I was telling these people, I searched all my life, 49 years of my life, searching for a man called Yuji. So my whole culture put me on the wrong track. Go to Buddha, go to this man, all right, forget about the dead teachers, living teachers. You go there, and finally you discover for yourself that what you are looking for is already here. You see, it's like that cartoon we read in the American papers. Somebody is searching for the enemy, and finally he comes to realize that the enemy he is looking for is himself. So then you see, when you are thrown into a situation like that, you don't even know what you are. See, I can't say myself that I am a free man. So if I say to myself I am a free man, that means the same knowledge is in operation here. You see, that is still the same old duty, So that is really the crux of the problem. Maniac, lunatic, he is singing his song, and it goes. One day he drops dead.
Can that
be the
a
medium of expression is you. You see, you or he or the tape recorder or the fellow who is taking it. So,
provided that is
the moment
it
is expressed, it is already captured in that frame. There is no other way.
That we are not taking that as a model. So let it be a continuous expression, not being bound by the feedback model phenomenon. Suppose we assume that.
That is an assumption which has no basis.
Now, how else to capture? Not capture, that's again.
You see, no, listen.
How else?
You are still caught in this idea of changing something.
No.
For some reason or the other, when the
I want to communicate a change.
No,
I don't want to change.
It is not. What for? What for?
No. Then again, a purpose comes with using
the very
my knowledge.
communication.
So I don't want to ask what for. I merely want to communicate.
No communication is possible. And no communication is necessary.
Being born with this equipment.
We are born with only limitations.
But don't you think we are born with limitations to become unlimited? There is a process of becoming.
That is also part of the game.
But how to make the game
more interesting? More interesting.
Not destructive. With that limited,
how can this destroy? It can't destroy anything. See, destroying something is destroying itself. See, that's all that I'm saying. See, it cannot, it's except for the survival. Survival, you see, one form of life lives on another form of life. Whether you like it or not.
That isn't the transaction.
That is, that is the way the life moves,
But then the emergence of something trans-life phenomena.
There's
nothing, there's anything.
There's nothing trans.
It's always caught in a web. And I'm sure there must be a non-web entity which propels it forward.
That is what those people are
I'm not quoting
selling us to the marketplace. A shoddy piece of goods there.
But inside the marketplace, isn't there a small emergent?
No, it is not a marketable commodity. You see,
there must be a non-marketable
first the demand that has always been there, which is put in by the culture, to change them. See, so when the demand for bringing about a change within is not there, and then you see the demand for changing things outside is also isn't. It is not that I am anti-social, or you see that I am not thankful to the society, or I have a bounden duty to play my part and help my fellow men. All that is golden.
I agree. There are nothing ego determined.
Yes. No, so the one who is trying to